And welcome to Chicken Yard Sports. I am your host, Yak Wonderland, always with Earl Blasterson. And what a week 15 of football. We got the Arizona Cardinals getting upset by your Detroit Lions. Kind of an upset that everyone saw coming, first place in the NFC versus the last place in the NFC. And it was just thoroughly a shit kicking.
Worst record in the NFL, just taking out probably the best team in the NFC. Totally predictable.
Yeah, well, not best team anymore with Green Bay falling to or beating Baltimore to now have the number one spot in the NFC, 31-30 with just a classic Harborough.
Did Green Bay beat Baltimore, or did Baltimore beat Baltimore?
Baltimore beat Baltimore. Harbaugh beat Baltimore.
Harbaugh beat Baltimore, yes, exactly.
Which it was a hell of a loss by Harbaugh. And I mean, holy shit, you had two teams fighting for an AFC playoff berth with Cincinnati beating Denver 15-10. And I guess let's go to that game right now. You have Teddy Two Gloves going down in the fourth quarter with a gnarly looking head injury, gets carted off, goes to the hospital, and you have Drew Lock come in and immediately lead an impressive drive straight down the field for a touchdown. No time wasted. Since he gets the ball back, like a 3-play drive, just both the touchdowns in the game were scored in a matter of like 15 seconds. Other than that, there was zero offense all game long. And then you have Drew Lock do Drew Lock things the rest of the game.
Yeah, and just nothing but class. Drew Lock comes to the huddle doing this kind of shit. He's just like, let's go.
Let's go.
It's like, bro, have a little bit of class. Maybe come in the huddle and be like, man, I'm really worried about Teddy. That looked really bad, because it did look really, really bad. I mean, he didn't move a muscle once he went down, and it was scary.
A pretty inconspicuous looking play too. And Teddy was just like out for the count.
Yeah, it was so bad. And Drew Lock does lead him down, score a touchdown. It's like, okay, maybe they can win this game, keep the season alive. And then he just starts doing the dumbest shit in the world. We're definitely not Broncos fans or Cincinnati Burrows fans, but like you see him, you see him going down trying to run, and he fumbles the ball in a hilarious sequence where guy picks it up and then runs about another 15-20 yards, and then he fumbles it, and then Drew Lock recovers that fumble. But since Drew Lock touched him before he went down, it actually stood that it was a fumble. And then even a little while later in the game, it's like,
hold on, before we go from that, I'm putting half the blame on Drew Lock and half the blame on Pat Shurmur. Dude, What the fuck are you doing running a QB draw with Drew Lock at the 3-yard line when Javonte has been manhandling their defense? It is it's like, call worse plays. Like, don't if you set up Drew Lock to fail, he will fail. Like,
especially when that play earlier in the drive, Javonte makes contact with somebody on like the goal line and somehow breaks that tackle and gets it another 11 yards down the field. Like
a sick run.
Yeah, and once Drew Lock was in, they were running the football again, and I was kind of joking around. I was just like, oh, if that's all it takes for us to commit to the running game, maybe our starters should get hurt more often. It's just like, what do we have to do to just lean on our strengths, which is something they never do. They're not like, oh, Javonte and Melvin ran for like 1,000 yards last week. Like, let's lean on them. We just don't do that kind of stuff, because that would be smart complementary football. But yeah, you have him run on a quarterback draw and fumble, and then it just gets progressively worse. Later on in the game, we throw this screen pass to Noah Fant because Pat Shurmur's entire offense is screen passes, and Drew Lock throws it right at a defender rushing him who's not even 2 feet away, and he tips it up, and luckily Fant catches the ball. But it's like, bro, you can take a sack. You can take a sack right there. Like, that would be better than throwing what would have probably been a pick six, because there was nobody behind him, if he had intercepted that. But then you have the very last drive of the game. The Broncos have about 45, 50 seconds left in the game to drive down. And the very first play of that drive, Lock throws it basically right into the middle of 3 Bengals players. It was an option route, and Jerry Jeudy broke one way and Drew Lock threw the ball the other way. But I'm willing to guess that Jeudy probably read the defense correctly, since he's a really good route runner, and Drew Lock read it poorly. But either way, no matter what happened, Drew Lock almost throws an interception on the very last drive. That would have been game over right there.
Almost 2 interceptions.
Yeah, it was just an absolute disaster. And like, of course he scores that one touchdown, so anybody who wants to be ignorant is just gonna be like, yeah, we should have been rolling with Lock the whole time, and it's like, well, he also
honestly
fumble.
Like, I get that Lock sucks, but like, is Teddy really that much better? Through 3 quarters, he has less than 100 yards passing. He's 12 for 22. And he just looked fucking lethargic out there. Honestly, he looked like it was like just like another game. Like, there was no sense of urgency from either team this game. It was like either team that wanted to win could have won this game. Instead, both teams were just kind of like, fuck it. Like, I hope we win, but like, I'm not going to try to win.
For Teddy, I feel like the writing's on the wall that he's not coming back to Denver, and he's just kind of like trying to get through the rest of the year without doing anything catastrophic. But unfortunately happened today. It's just crazy to me, though. Like, Drew Lock starts 13 games last year. We go 5-11. We're currently sitting at 7-7 now after today, but like, Teddy at least got us 2 more wins, and based on how Drew Lock played today, I don't
Drew Lock's not the answer, dude. Get rid of him.
No.
Good riddance. But also, Teddy's not the answer fucking either. And until the Broncos find a quarterback, they aren't gonna do jack shit. It's as simple as that. It's the most important position in sports, and they're doomed to mediocrity until they find literally anything.
And all of that is compounded by horrible play calling by Pat Shurmur, because if I had either of those guys, I would be running the ball 45 times a game, even if we were losing, because we're still losing. But if we ran the ball 45 times a game, maybe we'd be racking up 250 yards and beating people. Like, you never know. But clearly the short screen passes and all that fancy dumb shit isn't working.
Facts. But fuck it, dude. This is getting too goddamn depressing.
Good for the Burrows, though. We're definitely not Burrows fans, but like, if anybody was to win today.
And now they're leading the AFC North. So the Burrows are back to the lead of the AFC North. Pittsburgh also steals a win 19-13 in a game that, again, Tennessee had won. They were up 13-0. Don't score a point the second half to lose, and it was fucking painful.
They're so washed.
They're so washed without Henry. It is incredible.
And with Mike Vrabel threatening to fight reporters all the time. He didn't actually, but he told him not to ask about a certain topic this week, and they did anyway, and he just stormed out of the locker room. But
yeah, love it.
Also, that's a good segue to the Ravens game, where somehow, despite all odds, they have the rookie Tyler Huntley in there, and he has a chance to go down and tie the game against Green Bay late in the game. And of course, they go for 2, and just like 2 weeks ago, they don't get it and end up losing the game by 1. And John Harbaugh just will not play in overtime. Man has better shit to do.
No, and I mean, Mark Andrews just tees off all game long. So what do you think they're going to do on the 2-point conversion? Is go for Mark Andrews, and Green Bay reads it like a book, double coverage.
There was like literally do
anything but pass to Mark Andrews. Honestly, like, design a play where it looks like you're going to Mark Andrews and go to a number of literally anyone else, because everyone's covering Mark Andrews.
Because Huntley's like rolling right, and you can watch the Green Bay had terrible discipline on that play. Basically, the entire defense shifted to that side of the field, which if they had just had somebody on the backside, or maybe a guy coming underneath going to that far side, they might have had something. But yeah, I mean, just telegraph it as bad as you possibly can, and that's what they did. But wow, the Ravens, it's just like, what are you even going to say to John Harbaugh? I mean, that's 2 games this year where they've opted out of overtime only to lose the football game. It's just hilarious.
Yes, hilarious would be the correct terminology for it. But yeah.
And speaking of hilarious, how about the Cardinals losing to the Lions?
God bless it. Jared Goff, what a legend.
absolute legend. He gets traded to Siberia by Sean McVay by hitting on Sean McVay's girlfriend, only to lead the Lions through a season of ups and downs where the Lions
And now
are
they're the
like,
number 3 pick. They're not even the worst team in the NFL. And they should have
right.
beat the Baltimore Ravens if fucking Tucker doesn't make the longest field goal in NFL history. They
And
should be
that
3-11-1.
And that other game they could have won, which would have been the 4th win. And in all honesty, like, they've been in a lot of games.
They have been in a lot of games. They've gotten blown out a couple, but every team has gotten blown out a couple games this year. Like the Bucks have gotten blown out. So it's like hilarious that the Lions are 2-11-1. Everyone thinks of them as a dumpster fire, but they've been like more competitive than plenty of teams.
I'd honestly, if it was again another rematch, I might put money on the Lions over the Broncos if they had played like today, because they also were missing a ton of people when the Broncos beat them. But
the Broncos are just like, they love to, like, their game plan for shitty teams is so spot on, and then their game plan for good teams is like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, it's the arrogance. It's like, oh, we're so much better than this team. We're just going to run to be polite. And it's like, no, that's basically all you guys have is running the football. So how about you do that? Yeah. And then the Cardinals, though, I thought even when they were down by 3 touchdowns in the 4th, I thought they were still going to make a comeback because Kyler marches down, throws what should have been a touchdown. And for whatever reason, it wasn't called. I think that was on 4th. But anyway, it just looked like the Lions were still in danger all the way up until like 6 or 7 minutes left, and then it was finally out of reach. But really good for the Lions. And Cardinals, I don't know what this says about them because they've beat the shit out of good teams this year, but you
can't lose to the Lions. You can't lose to the Lions, especially when you're trying to win the number 1 seed in the AFC. Every game is a must win, especially against a team like the Detroit Lions. But good for the Lions, I would say. Yeah. Like, praise the Lord, hallelujah, Merry Christmas.
Are the Lions the best team in the NFL after beating the Cards?
They might be. Dude, they very well might be. We're going to leave you with that question. Ponder it. Let us know. Are the Lions the best team in the NFL?
Ponder and subscribe.
And like.
And like.
Cheers.